You ready?
We're live.
We're live. Oh, geez, my bad. I'm looking around. Okay. Ohio State 24, Michigan 30. Michigan takes down Ohio State in a three-peat, 1-2-3, and that's the third straight loss for Ryan Day and Ohio State to Michigan. Obviously, it is the game, number 2 versus number 3. A lot on the line here, everything on the line here. This was the first playoff game. I'm Chris Drew from Medicine Sports. That's my guy Ron from Best Damn Media. Not how we thought it would go, but definitely always knew that this was a possibility and not ideal, not an ideal way for Ohio State to kind of end good old November.
Absolutely not. We thought that we were going to be getting together for a celebration,
right?
The way the Buckeyes could lose 3 years in a row, and here we are, a 30-24 loss for the Buckeyes, and man, it still does not feel real.
No, it doesn't. And this was a game that I thought that Ohio State was kind of peaking at the right time the last couple of weeks based on what we'd seen from Michigan. I felt like Michigan wasn't peaking. They were kind of having some struggles in terms of, play calling a little bit with the kind of adjustment without Jim Harbaugh there as well. It felt like a game to where like two teams trending in different directions. Obviously did not play out like that. This was a very close game. I think 2 still of the top 4 teams in the country, but you got to be really frustrated. I mean, we're going to dig into it a little bit, but really frustrated if you're an Ohio State fan or watching this game through the Ohio State lens, because you do feel like, honestly, you shot yourself in the foot so often, and Ohio State was able to, or Michigan was able to capitalize and pull out kind of a signature win for Sherrone Moore.
Absolutely. We talked all year about Kyle McCord not needing to be a championship caliber quarterback. We just need him to be good enough to beat the team directly in front of him. And today he was not. And one of the things that we talked about, it's okay for Kyle to have misses. It's okay for drives to stall. But the most important thing is protecting that ball and not turning the ball over. And you can look at this box score and see or watch the game and know if the Buckeyes don't throw that interception, they maybe win this game. And we talk about the struggles on special teams, and they show their face again. The Buckeyes have missed a field goal or had a special teams blunder in every bowl game and every game against Michigan for the last 3 years, and they have not done anything about it. In fact, they gave the special teams coordinator a raise in the offseason. So if that guy isn't on the chopping block, because, I mean, Jim Knowles, I feel like a lot of the problems that we had on defense were due to the struggles that the offense were having, and I don't really want to put that much blame on Jim Knowles. I want to put the blame on the offense and the struggles that they had, because they did their job. And if we don't turn the ball over and put them in awful positions and are able to at least just punt the ball there, I think the Buckeyes might have a different result on their hands today.
Right. Definitely a championship level defense, in my opinion. I don't want to give the defense too many faults. I mean, they did have their misplays, but with a run game like the Michigan run game, you feel like, okay, those things are going to happen. They're going to be able to move the ball. The issue is when you give Michigan a short field. The issue is when you throw the interceptions. The issue is when you miss the field goals, you can't win games. And there are 2 units on this team that are not championship caliber. And that is the offense and special teams, and that is kind of what today came down to.
We were watching during the second quarter, and I turned to you during the game when there was about 1 minute left in the second quarter, and I said, did we have the ball this half? And it's the second time that we've seen this defense. We saw the defense get worn down a little bit against Rutgers, and Rutgers was able to have success in the run game because the defense was spending so much time on the field because the offense was struggling to get going. And that lack of explosion and ability to sustain drives has been the Achilles heel of this defense, because when they're not tired and the offense is able to get off the field, this is one of the best defenses in the country. I mean, I want to get right into it as far as the number that we've talked about. We've been on Bleacher Report all year talking about the number 17. Ohio State has not given up 17 points, more than 17 points the entire year. And we said the Buckeyes can beat anyone in the country if they're able to hold them under 17, and they give up 30 today, the largest point total the Buckeyes have seen all season. And I don't even know if this was the most explosive offense that we've seen.
Yeah, that's a fact. And honestly, I don't really blame Jim Knowles for anything. Jim Knowles kind of did his job. I mean, you feel like if you have Ryan Day as the play caller and as the quarterback guy, you would think that like 24 points is holding them. That's plenty. I mean, we've seen some blowouts where Michigan scored 24 points. I mean, we saw what the game against the number 1 defense, Ohio State scored in the 50s and Michigan scored 24 points. Like, 24 points isn't a lot. The issue is Kyle McCord's not very good. And we had been kind of saying it a lot of the year, and we caught a lot of flack for saying it, kind of his struggles. I do think that Jim Knowles did a good job, but the fact of the matter is when you go 3 and out and 3 and out and 3 and out against a team that is as physical and runs the ball and will bleed the clock and will suffocate you a little bit to kind of turn the urgency up, it's not a good recipe. And maybe I ignored it, Ron. Maybe when I heard Kyle McCord talking about it's just another game, I'm like, oh, like he's just trying to like get himself ready and play loose. He played like it was just another game. And in case they forgot, in case y'all forgot, usually Ohio State quarterbacks score 40 in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, just another game. I don't know about that. It might be just his last game as a Buckeye, because if the Buckeyes do not make the playoffs, it is full-on pivot to bowl prep mode, and we are starting the fire on that quarterback competition immediately if the Buckeyes are not competing in the postseason this year.
Yeah, this is such a Ryan Day blunder. Ryan Day mismanaged his quarterback situation. Ryan Day mismanaged the running back situation early in the year until Trey kind of made it undeniable. And I never want to see 6 in an Ohio State uniform again. Never. And I'm not talking about Sonny Styles. I'm talking about Kyle McCord. We are at a point where we defended a quarterback for being mid the entire year because we felt like, okay, he wasn't doing the things to lose games. Well, guess what? Now you lost us a game. You can go to Pennsylvania, to Pitt, to the draft. I don't care, but it cannot be in scarlet and gray, because the fact of the matter is, when you come to Ohio State, is to win this game, and Kyle McCord simply wasn't good enough, wasn't close to good enough. They had plenty of chances to kind of open this thing up, and I know there was the one drop early, but outside of that, you throw 2 interceptions in a game where the coaching point all week, the coaching point all season was don't make the mistake, and you make 2 of them. He's not the quarterback. I mean, like I said, this is Jake Fromm, Georgia. That's what he is, Jake Fromm.
Is this the same quarterback blunder as far as choosing Jake Fromm over a potentially better quarterback that's younger behind him because you're comfortable with the safe guy that doesn't make mistakes? And the most disappointing thing is when you make that decision to go with the safer pick and you lose because of the mistakes that they make. It's like, well, then what did we do this for? If this guy has the lower ceiling, but we went with him because he has the higher floor, but the floor is actually in fact lower. What was the point at that point?
What do they say? The floor is the ceiling.
The floor is the ceiling, according to Michael Jordan. But, man, the Buckeyes take their 3rd straight loss to the team up north, Chris. And I'm looking at this graphic, and both of these guys look upset. Who do you put this game more on? Because while Kyle McCord had his struggles, there's someone who Buckeye fans – I mean, we've called them the Buckeye Civil Wars. There's only 2 things that can divide this Buckeye fan base, and that's a quarterback battle and C.J. Hicks. Those 2 conversations will get the Buckeye fans going. And to see the way this quarterback battle played out to what Devin Brown truthers would have thought was going to be the outcome because they knew this game was coming, it's almost like a slap in the face to arrive after having your hopes up all season and see this type of performance, because I feel like we did handicap this team with the limitations at quarterback. And even if we get down the road and we don't have if we don't see, as the reports in the early season were, that the Buckeyes have a Heisman caliber quarterback on their roster, and Devin Brown is just not sure what year he'll win it. Even if he doesn't, the fact that there was not a quarterback ready to take Marvin Harrison Jr. to the playoffs at Ohio State, I mean, teams have to be negatively recruiting the Buckeyes, seeing this type of performance. Jeremiah Smith watching Kyle McCord and potentially Marvin Harrison Jr.'s last game. And that's the tough thing about losing these games to Michigan. The finality of the team and some of the players' seasons, especially now with the change in bowl preparation and the amount of guys that choose to sit out that game. Did we potentially just watch Marvin Harrison Jr.'s last game? And I look at the box score here, and I see Marvin Harrison Jr., I know 1 touchdown, and how many yards and catches do we have here? We have 5 catches, 118 yards, a solid performance. But, man, he talked during the early part of the season about his expectations for the season. There were 3 goals: beat the team up north, make it to Indianapolis, because part of the reason why he wanted to come to Ohio State and play in the Big Ten was he thought he was going to compete for Big Ten championships in the same stadium that his dad made their name famous. And he's not going to get an opportunity to do that. And to think that we recruited a class that never played in Indianapolis, like, makes me sick to my stomach.
It's disgusting. It's not the standard you live up to at Ohio State. And Kyle McCord can't be the quarterback here anymore. If you're like, okay, well, he beat, Devin Brown, like he beat Devin Brown in the quarterback battle. Okay, so what? Like, we also saw Jake Fromm beat out Justin Fields. Who cares? That was a great mistake. Ryan Day's thing that's going to kind of be the end of him at Ohio State is going to be the anxiety. I firmly believe that because he is a tight play caller, he got back there and handled the quarterback controversy from a really tight place. And because of that, he trotted out a quarterback that was quote unquote the safer pick, but doesn't offer you the upside. And so usually when you go with the safer pick, it's okay, like we know what we're going to get. But the issue is in games like this where the safer pick gets squeezed a little bit, you'll get the interceptions. And with Kyle McCord, when things start going bad, you get the interceptions without the splash plays. Like you get the big blunders without the good plays on the flip side. Like with guys that we've seen before, even your Caleb Williams, he'll have the 3 picks in the game. But guess what? He'll give you 4 ridiculous throws that change games. Absolutely. So this is Kyle McCord and Ryan Day got to look in the mirror because at Ohio State, you cannot lose this game. And you cannot lose this game like this, in my opinion.
I have a question for you, Chris Drew.
All right.
Do you think J.J. McCarthy's father still has Ryan Day's phone number?
No.
Because if he did, and that was my son, I'm giving him a call at 3 a.m. tonight and asking him, you sure you made the right decision when you told J.J. McCarthy no thanks when he offered you his commitment to Ohio State with Kyle McCord there for this game? And that's been the talk of the entire season. Did Ryan Day make the right decision? And not only did he make the wrong decision, we now have 2 losses to Michigan because of that decision. And
it's 2 wrong decisions, right? Because it's the wrong decision to take Kyle over JJ. And even though I don't think JJ's that great, I think he does offer a little bit of a college aspect in terms of like gamer that you would like. Similar to Stetson Bennett, who's never going to be a great NFL player, but was so good at being a gamer. And then because you're in your own head and because you want to be right so bad, you go with Kyle McCord over Devin Brown. Ryan Day is the guy that wanted to be right instead of get it right. And Kyle McCord is a quarterback that should have never played at Ohio State. He's the reason that Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't a 5-star, and he's now the reason that Marvin Harrison Jr. will never win a Big Ten title game. Kyle McCord has to go, and they got to make this swap right now, and they got to get Devin Brown ready for the bowl game, or else I'm looking at Ryan Day thinking, okay, this isn't a guy that can develop quarterbacks. This is a guy that can take elite skill receivers and get guys open. But if the quarterbacks can't get better while they're here, I'm done with it. So if he wants to save his quarterback developer tag, he's got to show us that this is a Kyle McCord problem, not a him problem. And the way you show this is a Kyle McCord problem is you bench him and bring in another guy because you messed up somewhere along the way, either in evaluation, in development, or in play calling. This is a disgusting effort from Kyle, bro. Like he can't be the quarterback at Ohio State. You can't do it. You can't have him there.
We have, I am a huge fan of nicknames around here, and I thought that I was going to have the opportunity to cement the nickname Him Knowles in stone, and I don't think that's going to happen, despite the effort that the defense had. I mean, despite the great performance that I feel like the defense had overall, I think they were hindered a lot by the offense. I do think it's time that we do bring back one of my favorite nicknames, and that's Lion Day.
Yeah.
And Lion Day told us that there were 2 NFL quarterbacks in that room, and one of 2 things is either true.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of these guys are NFL quarterbacks, because if this is the better one of the 2, then we don't have 2 quarterbacks, or you didn't pick the actual NFL quarterback.
I really think he got too tight and got scared. I really think that he kind of made a decision based on trying to like prove that he was right in the whole J.J. McCarthy thing. I think that he tried to prove a point because he gets so tight and worries about the mistake. And like we're at a point now to where like something's got to give, something's got to change. And I know people are like high on Lincoln Kienholz, but Lincoln Kienholz is miles away from Devin Brown at this point. So no matter what you do, I mean, if you want it to be a Lincoln Devin battle, cool. What it cannot be is a Kyle battle. Kyle's been there since 1994. I feel like. I mean, he got to campus like 2 years ago, and has looked the exact same in the Akron game and the exact same in the Michigan game. And you really can't have that at the Ohio State quarterback. The standard's different. The standard's very different. You got to be in conversation to be the best in America. And is Kyle in conversation to be the best in America?
Absolutely not.
He's worse.
He's not in conversation to be the best in the Big Ten.
He's not in conversation to be best on the team. So, if you're gonna have a statue back there, he better be an assassin. And Kyle's neither of those things. And a lot of the fan base gave him a pass for the Notre Dame game, and when in actuality that game should have been a blowout. People gave him a pass for beating Penn State, when in actuality that game should have been a blowout. Like he was getting credit for these wins, but in reality, like he was the reason the games were close to begin with.
I made a promise to everyone last year before the game that if Ohio State lost, I wouldn't fire the coach. I immediately got on Spaces and fired the coach.
Yeah.
I then spent the entire offseason saying that there's no way if Ryan Day loses his game, he's playing with house money, because there's absolutely no way Ohio State hires a new head coach without a president at the university and with an acting athletic director that's a lame duck athletic director because Gene Smith is retiring in June.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine them making such a huge decision like that. So I'm like, I'm just getting this out on record that we're not firing Ryan Day after this game, win or loss. And Ryan Day tells me, hold my beer, I might go to Texas A&M. What type of a gut punch was that this morning before the game, watching the pregame show, seeing Bruce Feldman reports on college football, on College Game Day, talking about there may be smoke to Ryan Day leaving. Is that salt in the wound? As a Buckeye fan right now, I have so many mixed emotions with how to feel about this team, this season, and what we just witnessed as a season. Because, I mean, we've constantly talked about cherishing these Saturdays because the college football season goes by in the blink of an eye, and enjoy every single one of those wins and not be so critical of this team with national championship hopes, because one, it's hard to win national championships, and two, if you don't go to the playoffs, you only get 12 of these regular season games a year, and Buckeye fans need to appreciate those. And man, if we got a long off season ahead of us and a potential new quarterback battle starting up right in front of us, and that's why it is so crucial. I know we are spoiled fans and have such high expectations, but you got to enjoy those wins, because man, I am sick right now.
Yeah, I don't think Ryan Day needs to get fired. I think if there is any truth to that Texas A&M smoke, I think in large part it has to do with Ryan thinking he's going to get fired, which I think is really interesting in terms of psychology, which means he knows how big of a game this is. Because when you lose there, I mean, you go to A&M, you get more money and you get less expectations. At least for him, at least, I think before you fire him, which you cannot. I mean, he's 7 losses since he got here in 19. He's been, a ridiculous clip, all things, except for this year's been really ugly. He's made the adjustments, shown a willingness to change. This isn't a Mark Hilford situation. This isn't a Ed Orgeron situation. This isn't a Clay Helton situation, all guys who inherited really good rosters. This is a situation of a guy that is a little bit too tight, and now kind of the world seems to be crashing down. But for him, at least, if I'm the AD or if I'm anybody, if I'm Urban Meyer, I ask Ryan Day to consider going and hiring a real offensive coordinator. I'm asking Ryan Day to consider going to get an elite quarterback coach and not someone who kind of was a receiver, for Georgia Tech 5 years ago, and seeing if Corey can go cut his teeth somewhere else and get ready. I think same with Parker Fleming. You can't have you can't have a staff that's not in conversation for best in America, and then a quarterback that's not in conversation for best in America when you're the guy that's supposed to be driving and leading the ship.
The Buckeyes constantly talk about this standard of wanting to be the best in America. We call our secondary BIA. Every year when they talk about their goals and aspirations, they have national championship realistically in that conversation. And then when you put together a staff, you have unserious hires like Dennis and Fleming. These are positions that I feel like the Buckeyes are leaving meat on the bone as far as contributions to this team from the staff. When you have these type of people taking up positions on the staff, our special teams has been abysmal the entire time under Parker Fleming. Not a single kick return, not a single punt return, a missed field goal, or a special teams blunder in every single bowl game and game against Michigan for the past 3 years. How does that man receive a raise in the offseason?
Don't know. But again, the standard, like you said, best in America, this can't be give somebody a job for this, give somebody a job for that. We got to keep it a beam.
We got to find another way to do favors, because we can't have these favor jobs on the staff and have these performances that we're putting on the field.
If guys would have coached at Ohio State, it used to be you got to cut your teeth somewhere else. Guys had to Justin Fry had to go cut his teeth. And look, Justin Fry deserves flowers. That, the offensive line had a lot of push there. There was a point in the game where it felt like it was teetering the balance. And Justin Fry's unit really got things going and kind of moved ahead. That's a guy that, was an Urban guy, but he went and cut his teeth at Boston College, then cut his teeth at UCLA. Then he went everywhere to go get ready. Was with Steve Adazio for a while. Even Zach bounced around. Marshall, Temple, Florida, Ohio State. Why is it that we are now just elevating analysts and elevating QC guys? It's no, Go somewhere else. Go to a small school. Learn how to recruit. Learn how to develop kids who aren't 5 stars. So then when 5 stars get here, you can maximize them. And really, it's not going right now. I'm not going for it, bro.
This is not a learning curve type of university. You don't come here and learn on the job at Ohio State. You need to be adding something. And the fact that we're paying a special teams coordinator and we have some of the worst special teams in the country, paying a special teams coordinator that doesn't recruit, doesn't help in another position room, is making $500,000 a year to have some of the worst special teams in America. I want to apply the second that he's removed from his position.
Exactly. And honestly, like, we shouldn't be this fired up about this game because we were playing with house money at this point. It's supposed to be a 9-3 football team, and Michigan, there's a lot of credit, but they just beat Common Core. They're not like.
And you brought up Michigan. I feel like we've been super critical of the Buckeyes, Ryan Day. We gave Jim Knowles his flowers, but I do want to give flowers to this team up north, and it pains me and sickens me to say it. I mean, we sat up here on this platform with our faces next to a J.J. McHeisman graphic.
We did.
I've talked about the nightmares that I've had about Roman Wilson and J.J. McCarthy on the scramble drill, and every time I say this all the time. People like to say that J.J. McCarthy is a bad quarterback. He stinks, and some of them may have points, but one thing that I will tell you that J.J. McCarthy is, and I can guarantee you that, he's a gamer.
Yeah.
On third down, he doesn't waver. He turns it up and dials in, and even when he makes a mistake, he comes back out and responds. And J.J. McCarthy on third down is an absolute problem, and I thought the Buckeyes would be able to contain him, and there were countless times we're screaming at the TV, close down, run down, and J.J. McCarthy is just scrambling for first downs. The run game was efficient. Blake Corum ran for more yards per carry than TreVeyon Henderson. TreVeyon Henderson at 3.2, Blake Corum at 4.0. Donovan Edwards getting involved. Not a crazy game from Donovan Edwards, but every time he got the ball, I felt like he was one missed tackle away from breaking it and making this game look just like it did last year. And I think that was the difference, that we didn't see as many of those explosive runs because the defense is a significantly shorter tackling team. So I think that did play a difference in this year's game, and that's why the score was as close as it was. But, man, to lose by a touchdown to this team when you feel like we left so many points on the field as far as with quarterback play and quarterback mistakes, it's sickening. And the fact that this team is going to have bragging rights, because regardless of this investigation, Buckeye fans need to look themselves in the mirror and say it like it is. Michigan's the better team. They've done it 3 years in a row. Signs, no signs, whatever you want to say, they've found a way to beat the Buckeyes 3 straight years. And, man, there's a lot of questions to be answered in Columbus right now.
Yeah, there are. And now you're going to have bowl prep, because this bowl prep is for the young guys, because Ohio's just got to figure out what they are, what they're going to be. You now know after a full season that Common Core's not the guy. So you go into bowl prep and you let Lincoln and Devin go at it while Common Core gets healthy, and you figure out if you need one from the portal or not. Right now, this is honestly just Devin Brown and Lincoln Keno's bowl prep season, because Common Core, if you're not a championship level quarterback at this point in the Ryan Day system with those receivers, you never will be. And it's really as simple as that. So, this kind of loss hurts. Obviously, you can't wait for Aaron Nolan to get here in January. But if you're Ohio State, you're still probably a top 8 team in the country. You got to regroup. You need some real leadership there. And the guys that are coming back next year need to kind of put their chin straps on, because this is a team that, while, I know it hurts and it's not quite there, they do need to get better. And they need to get better at certain positions, quarterback and offensive line being the two. And then you're going to have a lot to replace on defense. So, a lot of credit to Michigan, a lot of credit to Sharon Moore. It's going to be cool, though, because in a couple months, this game never happened, because it is going to get vacated. But right.
I don't even care. The way the Buckeyes have found 3 years in ways to lose to this team, I don't care about sanctions. I don't care about cheating.
Yeah.
They beat us. I mean,
no, they did.
There's no excuse for today's performance.
That was more me coping.
Yeah. You got to be careful on that stuff.
Yeah, I know. The copium.
It could be lethal in large quantities.
Yeah,
I have a question here. I have it in the chat right now. Is Ryan Day on the hot seat? And, man, again, leading into the game, and in no way, shape, or form did I think losing this game could have Ryan Day on the hot seat. But the more and more I think about it, maybe not fired.
I don't think he's
not fired, but his seat has to be on fire coming into the season. No.
I mean, I guess like
you can't do it 4 years in a row. I don't care if you're Bill Belichick.
No, I mean, it's definitely alarming. I don't think he's on the hot seat. I think he's good because this was the best Michigan team ever, quote unquote, per their fan base, and this wasn't even a top 4 Buckeye team in the last 5 years. So,
agree. It's just it feels like the schedule leads us to believe that this team is much better, and
than they are, right?
Three times at the end of the season, and it's just like it's tough to find answers, but at the same time, answers aren't that hard to find because it's almost like the whole fan base was divided for the first 4 weeks of the season because half of the fan base did not believe that this quarterback was good enough to accomplish the goals that they set out at the beginning of the season.
That's right. I mean, if people who knew, I just thought the defense was good enough to kind of be able to overcome that. And as Kyle was doing the thing where he wasn't making the mistakes, wasn't, putting the ball in harm's way. But then in this game, he put the ball in harm's way and twice. And even with that early mistake, like you gift Michigan 7 points and then you lose by 7 points. And then even with that gift of 7 points, you have a shot late to go ahead and win the game. And honestly, if you make the field goal, then you have a shot late to just go for 3 and tie it up and play for overtime, which I don't think Ohio State wins in overtime against Michigan because Kyle McCord down in that red zone area is not very good. So, it's frustrating, but I mean, unless you just have the fan blinders on, it's easy. Ray Charles could see that Kyle's not the guy. And if Ryan Day, here's the thing, if Ryan Day thinks that Kyle's the guy, and season as Kyle as being the guy, then yes, the seat is on fire next year. Because I'll give you a pass. You misevaluated, cool. You lost the Stroud, cool. Don't want to give you a too big of a pass, but I'll give you a hall pass for 3 minutes.
On Quinn Ewers?
Well, no, I'm saying, yeah, just because of the way the quarterback room looked. If you go into next season and Kyle McCord's your quarterback, I lose faith that you're willing to do the right things to take this team over the edge because it is clear as day that Kyle McCord's not it.
And we have been killing Ryan Day for 27 straight minutes, and that's where I have to stop you there because the one thing that we have given Ryan Day credit for, and we just did an evolution of Ryan Day show here on Bleacher Report last week talking about why we think that Ryan Day is the guy that's going to lead the Buckeyes to a championship, similar to that of the trajectory that Kirby Smart had. And a lot of these questions were people had about Kirby Smart last season, but we talked about the difference between Ryan Day and Lincoln Riley is that a willingness to correct his mistakes. Mm-hmm. And I feel like another test as far as his learning curve, and like we talked about, guys shouldn't be learning on the job at Ohio State. This is a job where you come in ready to win championships. And again, it's hard to remember because of the success that he's had. This is now his 6th loss, but this is Ryan Day's first time as a head coach.
It is.
He's still learning.
Through it live in 4K.
So it's going to be interesting because I feel like he has another test. One, will he stand in the paint or will he run for the money and go somewhere with no expectations? You know what I mean? You're going to see Ryan Day at the midnight yell like next year. Yeah, slapping his knee after the Ohio State game with if he decides to run from it. Or we could see him stand in the paint and make a tough decision and potentially admit that he was wrong. Yeah. And play another quarterback. And man, is there going to be a civil war in the fan base if Devin Brown comes out and lights the world on fire in whatever bowl they put us in? Because again, when you're a Buckeye team and have the expectations that they do, I mean, I haven't even bothered to learn the name of the bowl that they're playing in yet.
Yeah, it's time. It's time. Derek, get your messages out. It's time. It is completely time to let Devin go play in the bowl game. So at least we have a little bit of an idea of what we've got. We've seen Kyle. I've seen too much of Kyle. I'm fully convinced that Kyle is the college version of Jay Cutler. He'll do 2 cool things.
Whoa. Don't disrespect Jay Cutler like that.
You're right.
I'm not going to let you do that.
I got you one more. I'm fully convinced that the Kyle McCord is Nathan Peterman, and I've seen enough. He's Nathan Peterman. He's Christian Ponder. He's Jake Fromm. He's me. He's the people downstairs. I mean, I'm done with it, bro. I'm done with it, bro. And we should have known, bro, when bro got up on camera and said my favorite player was Mark Sanchez growing up, we should have known right then and there it was cooked. It was cooked. Hibachi. I'm talking about burnt, dry, like it's cooked. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it.
Man,
I can't believe that Kyle McCord had the audacity to suit up and go out there and play like that.
It is truly disappointing, especially CJ Stroud has to be at home sick to his stomach because if he had that defense, he wins 2 national championships.
100%.
But man, prayers to all Buckeye fans because we know it's going to be a rough night. It's going to be a rough year. That clock is going to continue to tick because, man, it feels like an eternity since the Buckeyes have beat that team up north.
Yeah, bro.
We a big shout out to Bleacher Report. We appreciate them having us here for this instant reaction and spending this entire season covering the Buckeyes here on Bleacher Report. It has been fun. I can't wait to cover this QB battle, all of the Ryan Day news and controversies going forward here, man. I bet you Lou Holtz is somewhere smiling right now.
Yeah, I'd like to know where Ryan Day is right now.
Yeah, I'd like to know where Ryan Day is right now. I hope he's not on his way to Texas A&M, and if he is, man, we're going to be on here talking about who the next coach is. But, man, the Buckeyes lose their 3rd straight to the team up north. It is a sorry day for the Buckeyes, but, man, we are still going to be here rooting on our team, even though this is a sad Saturday. I'm going to go drown our sorrows after that loss. I'm Ron James of Best Damn Media. Big thank you to Bleacher Report for having us for this instant reaction. Chris Drew, let the people know where they can find you.
I'm about to go hop over to Menace to Sports right now, so come kick it with me there. It's going to be a little bit of a different kind of stream.
Yeah, pull up on Zach Smith and Chris Drew for a live reaction over on Menace to Sports. We will be live for the flagship Buckeye BS on the Best Damn Media YouTube tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute movie over there. Make sure that you pull up. A big thank you to Bleacher Report for having us all season. Can't wait to kick it with you guys through bowl prep, and go Bucks and OH.
I-O.